Good evening, everyone. This will be a fairly brief meeting. So as not to keep you guys waiting, let's take a few things first out of order. Certification, compliance for Huntington.
It wasn't, it's not on the agenda.
Oh, that's right, it wasn't. That was one of
That was a new one that popped up, right.
How do we handle it? They have a closing on Wednesday.
Well,
What is it?
It's, I'll describe it, it's a lot that was cleared and developed like 10 years. Are any of you here for that?
certificate of compliance.
What's the address?
Well, that's the funny thing, it's Huntington Brook Lane.
You know, I saw that, and I'm trying, where is that?
It's off of,
Off of Howland,
Howland.
near where Mill Street comes in.
That's right, we're at the very edge of town.
It's
over
very
there.
hard to find because there's no street sign for it. There's just a mailbox with their address. So I must have gone back a half a dozen times.
Is there like one house on this road? or
yeah.
Two.
Oh,
There's two. There's two lots, two buildings. I don't know if one of them is a residence. It looks more like it's commercial. But it's all upland. Significantly so.
Did we have a order of conditions on
Yeah,
it?
we had an order of conditions.
On the,
And they're looking for a certificate of compliance?
Yep. Yep, they
Is it
came
just
in on
because
Monday.
their property was somewhere near the buffer zone, but no wetlands on the property, it's just,
Right? Well, there's some adjacent to it, but like I said, it's all upland, where they were very conservative. They left the trees very close to both buildings, which are huge to begin with. Some of the largest houses I've seen around here. And it looks, like I said, one of them has garage openings, and it looks like it's a commercial operation with maybe part of the building, a residential, I'm not sure. But it's been kicking around for 8 years. So they're just looking to get it closed out and move on. So that's my recommendation.
So did the order of conditions, everything been satisfied, as far as you could tell?
There were no extra conditions. Good point. It's just all the standard boilerplate was in there.
Okay.
We didn't add anything to it. So the map is sort of poorly drawn. It's hard to see anything. We could have used it
It's
better.
been 10 years since they did the work?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, it's gotta be settled by now.
Yeah.
John, that's nothing, we get stuff.
Yeah, no, I get it, when they
Until
sell.
it goes to sell,
When they go to sell,
21
they
years
need to
down
get
the
a
line,
compliance
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what triggered this.
Okay.
They came in on Monday and
Did you see anything that,
nothing
Piqued your
at
interest?
all.
so where it wasn't on the agenda, should we just move to put it on the next
It's not,
agenda? Or is that something we don't even need to?
it's not a required hearing,
Posted.
so we can take a vote on it still.
Then you did make a site visit?
Yeah.
And you would say that sufficient natural growth makes it so that they no longer need artificial erosion control?
Yeah, it looks like it's well maintained.
and well established?
Yeah.
So would you entertain a motion?
Yes, I would.
So could you repeat the address that you have? I just want to get it.
2 Huntington Brook Lane.
Was there a file number on that you happen to?
Yeah, I didn't bring it because I didn't think we were
Yeah.
gonna do it tonight, so
Yeah,
I'm
that's my
like,
fault.
yeah. It's sitting on the desk and the
It's sitting right there.
certificate is
That's the thing
prepared.
Lori was, had prepared and
Yes.
revised.
Right, so it's sitting there. So, well, we got a motion on the table, do we?
I would make a motion to approve the certificate of compliance for 2 Huntington Brook Lane as noted as order of conditions.
Second.
You know, motion a second, all in favor?
Aye.
So, yeah, it's not a conventional roadway, it's extremely narrow, it has a fence on either side. The address on the mailbox is 2 Huntington Brook Lane. In the notice of intent, it describes it as rear of a lot on Howland. So,
Okay.
So the paperwork's in the office.
Yep.
So if you
We'll come
folks
back.
want to stop by and you can get it.
Sign it.
Just sign it.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Is it an unaccepted road? Probably.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't look like it's
It's not.
ever gone to town meeting to be accepted, which makes no difference to us.
Yeah, it would have a street sign if it was,
Yeah.
which it doesn't.
Which it doesn't, which is weird because it's not listed as Howland Street.
Right, it's 133 Howland, I think, is the way it reads in the NOI.
Oh. Okay, well, if you folks just would stop by and sign that thing that's on Bob's desk, then it can get issued. Okay.
Is the NOI for 133 or for two
For Hutching.
unintended? Okay, so I'll leave the motion
So, yeah,
as.
that's the correct.
Okay.
Well, let's do this, what are you folks here for? Let's see if we can,
Yeah.
Like Nashua.
Wow, Mr. Nashawati.
so we don't hold you up.
Yeah, thank you for coming in, Mr. Nashawati. We had asked you to come in because, as you might know, got a complaint about some activity that occurred on 5-7 Beech Tree Lane, and I went down and took a look at it, took some photographs. It does appear that there was definitely some clearing and some sort of trenching in the wetland or in the buffer zone. And I measured it visually, visual estimate, I came up with about 1,000 square feet of alteration without a permit. So that's something,
No, it's
that's something that
I think it's 4 feet deep and
it's,
maybe 100 feet long, so maybe a couple hundred.
but when you piled all the debris on top of the
Yeah,
wetland,
that was our.
that's considered work in a wetland, so.
Well, what happened was during one of the storms, the tree fell down. Well, I was doing the construction, so I had no choice. I cut the tree down, I threw the limbs across the street till the springtime when I can chip it. I had no place to put the brush, and the guy couldn't take it, so I just put it across the street of my land.
Yeah, it's wetland in there though, as you probably know. And
Oh,
so-
I know, it's been wet since they built houses up
Right,
top.
so, we can't be allowing people to store brush or put anything in there without getting a permit
Yeah,
first.
as soon as it dries up, I'm gonna go and I chip it out of there.
That's what I had thought I would recommend to the
Yeah,
Conservation
like
Commission.
I said, as soon as it dries up, it's just so, ever since they put the houses up top,
Yes,
we're getting flooded, inundated down below. My sump pump does not shut off, I don't care if the lake is 3 feet down. It's, I'm burning through sump pumps, the land's constantly wet across the street.
Unfortunately, that describes you and half the town.
Well, they built the house on top of an aquifer up top, and
Oh,
now
yeah.
it's flowing down, and I've talked to Joe about it before, it's flowing down like a river.
Yeah,
Right.
we've been
And
watching
flooding
that
us
for
out
a
down
long
there.
time.
right.
And
Well-
we've already pulled permits, we've already tried to fix it with corrugated tube under the road and stuff, it's still flooding out. So all I did was clean out my drainage ditch and throw some gravel in there. Now, if you look, I'll show you the pictures on my phone, you can see where I stopped the gravel.
Yes, I
It
saw it.
floods up. Where I put the gravel, it's flowing right into the pond and right out like it's supposed to.
Let me caution you, when you say things like, I just threw gravel, that triggers a reaction. Right? That strictly speaking needs to be permitted, even if it's a small quantity, because of where it is. All right? And it's not that we're against that kind of activity, it just needs to go through the approval process.
It actually turned into a safety hazard because there were so many guys working on my house.
Uh-huh.
People were trying to go around, and I think you can attest, at some places it was a couple, 3 feet deep.
Yeah.
And so somebody would have got sucked in there and got hurt.
Oh, I believe you, but under those circumstances, you could always get an emergency cert, come into the office, and any one of us can prepare it for you right on the spot.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, that's
So you
okay.
just cleaned your drainage ditch?
Clean the drainage ditch, threw some stone in there so it'll flow. There were drainage ditches up and down the whole length of that road
Yeah.
that really need to be serviced.
Is it a town road
I've
or
talked
private?
to Joe, I've talked to
Combination.
Yeah, it's not a town.
Board of
way,
Health.
it's way open to the public.
I've talked to DEP, I talked to MEMA. I got headway with the mosquito control.
Yeah,
They're
you
gonna
mentioned
come,
that.
they're gonna have the engineer come down and trying to figure out how to clean up all our drainage.
Which should help with the
because-
mosquito problem.
Huge.
Yeah.
When they tested the water in the frog pond, there was probably about that much water.
So
There was nothing but mosquitoes.
Lava.
Lava.
Yeah, I saw them.
And like
this
I
summer.
said, we own all across that street. It's
Right.
all, I mean, we've had this house for over 70 years.
Yeah,
It's always been dry, it'll be wet if it rains.
right.
Once they put those houses up there, they've dispersed so much flood water on me that it's inundating us. Not so much John, because he's further up, but coming down that road, that whole corner and everything, it's flooding us all. So, I mean, I just did what I thought was right to try to correct the flooding situation.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, that road would have been flooded all winter long.
And chances are, if you'd come here, we would have given you a permit to do it.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I figured being my land, I could make the
Yeah.
water go.
Well, it sounds like we got two different things. There's
That's right, we do.
tree branches and sticks to
Well,
it,
that's the other thing.
separately from the gravel thing. And my recommendation would be if you do get good headway and positive response from an engineer with the mosquito people,
Yeah.
please come back and
Yeah.
do some sort of a emergency certification to mitigate the water problem. We're fine with it. We just need to have an approved process.
Yeah.
But as far as the sticks and branches, yeah, that's great. You're gonna chip them in the spring. You're gonna bring them back onto the other side of the road to chip them. I mean, we
Or
just
take
don't
them
want you to
off.
chip them into the wetlands.
What we'd like you to sit,
I mean, can we chip it where it is to keep because I was always mowing that years ago.
you can
And
if
then
you
we
bring in a
stopped
plan.
mowing it, now it's all
Yeah.
thorns and everything.
Because you're gonna be working in the wetland, you'd have to show us a plan that details where you're gonna do the work, what kind of machinery, you know, are you gonna put a road in?
No,
That kind of stuff.
here's the problem. The ground is so wet there
I
now.
know, that's,
All the trees on that land are
Yeah.
all leaning towards the road.
yeah.
Some of them are leaning big time. I mean, we get a good storm, they're gonna come down and take the wires down. So now falls on my responsibility because it's my land. Some of the trees are gonna have to come down. I mean, they're at a 45-degree angle, some of them.
Well, you can do that with a permit. You know, I think that's really our main point here. We can't be allowing you or anyone to go in and do what you think, or they think, or anybody thinks needs to be done, because then people are running roughshod, doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Not that you've done that. I understand the issue. It's just that we need to be able to say that you had our permission, because when we get the complaint, we need to be able to say, hey, look, he's got a permit, it's too late. You know, it protects you in the long run,
You
having
may
a permit.
remember that the long-running drainage problems you had there ultimately never got solved until we got that engineered ditch in.
Yeah. It's a whole lot better.
Yes and no, they didn't put the pipes low enough. Because when that mosquito control guy came down and looked, he goes, yeah, they're pitched the wrong way, they're not deep enough, they're not
But see,
flowing.
the frog pond typically held enough water
Yes, it
to
was,
keep the
yes.
flow. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
But like, I think my main concern at this point, I don't know how John feels, is the fact that we're getting inundated from up above. And I don't know, I went, like I said, I talked to a MEMA guy for a half hour.
Yeah, they're
And
not
he
gonna
didn't
help
even know who to talk to.
Right, then the
Because
MEMA is,
they- 'cause I
MEMA is
guess-
public safety at a catastrophic
We're not
level.
gonna fix the water issue. All I ask is the brush is gone.
Yeah.
I spent my time cleaning up the street on my own dime, and I know you have a circumstance, Mike, and you had to take down a tree, but do not throw it across the street in wetlands where I drive by it every day.
That's for us. Yeah, that's our problem. And that's what we're here to discuss
And
with
that's why I
Mr.
said,
Nashua.
as soon as the springtime comes, I was gonna chip
If the
it.
houses up the hill were directing water directly onto your property, that would be a civil matter.
That's right.
But sheet flow,
Not much.
you're at the bottom of the hill, you get sheet flow.
That's
Yeah,
right.
it was
It's-
never
Well,
as
Excuse me,
bad.
another question. Is
I
it
would,
just-
shouldn't they have a retaining pond for all that runoff that they?
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they put in some kind of stormwater control.
They do. They have it on the side of the property where it separates the land from the street.
That's
Yeah.
regulation.
That goes right between the three houses.
Where that
As you
elbow
go around
is?
the co-
Yeah, but
Yeah, I know.
the problem is, those houses are probably 35 feet above the road.
Yeah.
So it goes from this house to his
Oh, yeah.
yard,
Oh,
from
yeah.
his yard, all the way down
Plus
through the
water
woods
goes
and
on one
yards.
of them in the middle house, the water actually goes on the driveway.
It was a
Yeah.
tough site to build on to begin with.
Yeah, hydraulic pressure is squirting it out the
My
bottom.
father used to wash his clothes and get fresh water from the ground up there. That's how much
Oh, yeah.
water come out.
Well, that's all water-bearing ledge.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, put in a well and start selling it.
Right, right. So you had water issues before, it's just they've gotten worse in your opinion.
Well, it's never been like this.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's an unusual season.
That's
to
right,
begin
we've had a
with.
lot.
Even before this rainy season,
Yeah.
it's still a constant issue, because I mean, I used to go through a pump every 15 years. Now I'm going through a pump every half a
hear you.
year.
I hear you. I know.
They just don't shutting off.
Let me ask you another question. Is it just your property that we're talking about for the branches, or is there any association property?
No, I own all of it.
Okay.
I own all across the road.
I know that was a
That was a separate issue.
separate issue.
Yeah, we've
right?
got another violation down there, and we're trying to, we have to be consistent in how we approach
I
it,
own,
because we
I own
can't.
all in front of those 3 houses and
Right.
up to the frog pond.
Right, so we have to be consistent, because otherwise we'd be accused of being
Yeah.
discriminating.
You're
So
all-
whatever we do for some person, that's why we called you in, because when there's a violation that we get a complaint, we investigate it. If there's a violation, then we call and see if you're willing to come in. Otherwise, we just follow up in writing, which I would suggest the commission does it at this point, just to put it in
Sounds good.
writing, that we have, your agreement to get the stuff out of there in the spring
Oh, yeah,
and
my
not
wife-
do any more
The first
work.
thing my wife says, you're not leaving it there, and I'm like, no, it's just temporary, but.
Not do any more work unless and until you have a valid permit, so that if
So-
there's any problems with that, we can talk about it.
My question to you, is there a way that we can level that to get the thing to dry out? Because
It's not gonna dry out.
It's,
It's not gonna dry out. There's water that's coming down the hill. It's, the source of the water is the problem, right? The water's the
If you
problem.
if you actually look at the land, it's banked up. Banked up all
I know
the
it
way
is, I
around.
saw that.
If we could-
There's a berm that was
Yeah.
developed over the years.
That's
Right, right.
decades of cleaning and
Yeah, that's all the excavate that's been put over the
the
edge.
last 70 years, you know?
Right. So,
Wow.
you're not gonna,
Wetlands, you can't touch wetlands anyway, right?
no, not without a permit.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why we're
He can
here.
walk on it to pull the brush out, could he do that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
that's why I asked the question.
Yeah, right.
So would you, if I come back for a permit, can I get a permit to at least pull down the trees that are tipping
Sure,
and
Sure,
falling?
yeah,
Sure.
sure, yeah.
I just don't need
Are they
some
We'll go out
still
and
alive or are they dead?
They're alive.
alive, dead, some of them have fallen and leaning, it's kind of 6 or 7 dozen.
If they leaf out, they're alive. Right now, you can't tell, but if they leaf out in the next,
But I mean, I'm
you know,
talking
month
something
or so.
like this. That's how soft the
Our whole
ground.
street's like that, though.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
if you go down Rollins
Yeah.
Lane,
Yeah.
I could say that across every house is in danger of a 50, 75-foot pine,
yeah,
on a windstorm coming down on somebody's, on the electrical poles and on potentially on somebody's house.
Right.
There's no doubt about it.
yeah, that's a problem that everybody shares.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So, would the commission like me to draft something up for Mr. Nashawati, just to have it in writing that sets forth that you will remove the brush and you will not do any more work? That would be my suggestion to the commission.
I mean,
And what do we need from him? Some kind of, that doesn't have to be as formal as an engineered plan, right?
Well, I think right now, we don't really need anything, right now.
I think he's talking about me cleaning up the trees.
Well, that's a
Yeah.
different issue.
Well,
Then you need to file an application. You could file a request for determination for that.
Tell you what,
That's pretty
when you're ready to do the work,
Yeah.
contact us so that we can be there and you can show us at that time, here's where I'm gonna park my truck, here's where I'm gonna walk in, here's where I'm gonna chip.
Yeah.
And we're not asking for more paperwork or anything like that, just keep
Because I mean, the
us.
land isn't even attached to me, it's across the
Oh,
street.
I know,
Right, right.
that's all. Okay, so we'll do that. Well, let's take a vote, all those in favor of sending a letter?
aye.
Aye.
So you'll get something in the mail, okay?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Did you have something else, Tad?
I think you were questioning the other violation on Beach Street.
Off to the right of
Right.
Steve's
It's
old
not-
house.
It's not on our agenda, but we do know about it. We have been down there taking some pictures. There's been some email traffic. It didn't make the agenda last week, but it's certainly on the next agenda, but would be happy to talk about it. I don't know, can we talk about it without?
What's the issue with this?
So what's 4 to 6 Beech Tree?
That's
That's-
Mr. Nashwater, even though it should be 5 to 7.
7, right?
8.
Yeah, but
That's
you're
Five.
that's your
5 to
mom's house,
7.
right?
Yeah.
It should be 5 to
All
7.
the properties are affected one way or
Yeah.
another because of overlap
Right.
and drainage.
But the tree violation was on
Yeah, that was-
your property,
Yeah.
Right.
which is 8?
8. But I don't know what the addresses are across the street, 5, 7.
5,
Yeah,
7.
no
I looked it
problem.
up on the assessors
One
map.
time or another, all of them, 2, 4, 6, 10, 12, 14, they've had some issue.
John, what are you,
Drainage
20,
or-
22?
22.
22.
Yeah, so the other area of alteration is 2 Beech Tree Drive. And that, when I checked the assessor's office, that's owned by Huckleberry or, yeah, and it's a Mansfield address. That's the owner on record with the assessor's office for 2 Beech Tree Lane. So what I had suggested was similar to Mr. Nashawati, we contact the owner and say, come on in, we want to talk to you about what's going on over there because you did it without a permit. It's a violation. You've
Same
cleared
thing.
vegetation and left it there. It's very similar to what you did.
Yeah,
Who's
that,
the owner
that,
you have?
Pardon me?
Hold on, this is, who's the owner you have on the Mansfield address?
It's
That's
just,
owned by,
it's, it says Hemlock Shores or Hemlock,
no, I don't know.
Not
Yes.
Hemlock Shores.
Association is.
Yeah, Huckleberry.
Huckleberry Shores. Huckleberry Shores, P.O. Box something in Mansfield, Mass. That's the owner of record according to the Lakeville Assessor's Office.
we probably need to update that.
Okay, well,
Is that the old Folkman and Zola address, maybe?
I don't know, but nobody that is part of the association has that address.
Has that address.
so where did the tax bills get sent?
It gets sent to his former house, the old homeowner, which was Steve McGuire.
Can you step up to the
Can you step up
podium,
to the
please?
microphone?
Thank you.
So, we need that information.
So Steve was getting the bill.
Steve was getting the assessor's bills for not only Huckleberry Knolls, which is, I learned only recently, because I've only been in the neighborhood for like 3 years, that small little beach area, which separates his house now and a small little cottage. And then Huckleberry Shores Association Beach, which is the beach right next to my property. So I believe both beaches get assessed a property tax or something per year, per calendar year, whatever.
Any property.
And
gets
the
a
president
tax
of the
bill.
association pays that out of our association account.
Right, okay.
And that's, who's Bob, is it?
Yeah.
Jim Dyke now.
Jim Dyke, yeah.
Right. So I can send you the proper information on that, just so you have the right addresses.
That would be.
And if I have to go to the town hall or
Yeah.
whatever to figure that out.
Yeah,
I can-
because the
Any
assessor's
changes?
office, yeah.
So
it
we
doesn't-
don't have the owner of 2 Beech Tree Lane here.
Well, the owner is the Huckleberry Shores
It's an
Association.
association
so-
which
Yeah.
we're members of.
Okay.
I'm the treasurer of the association, and the president of the association is Jim Dyke.
So who cleared the land?
We believe of Mr. Tom Loftus on 8 Robbins Lane,
Is he a member of the association?
13.
Is he a member of the association?
No.
So
But
you guys have,
there's-
may I finish, Joe?
Yeah.
You guys got a problem then, because you have property now that's in violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, and someone other than someone that you know is now affecting your property in a way that adversely affects it.
yeah.
So that's something you need to address with that fellow.
So I addressed it with him. I told him to come to the Conservation Committee in order to get approvals. If he has access to it, he has the right to clear it, but in order to touch it, because it's within 100 feet of the water, he would have to actually go in front. He had a couple conversations with with Keith's former homeowner, Steve McGuire. The police came down, stopped him. He came back down, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, something of that nature. He actually started to make a path to the waterway. And over the last month, I believe he made some more traction of clearing more wetlands or more brush out of the wetlands area, which is normally a beach. It was a beach at one
I used
point.
to put my-
At one point over,
One at a time, please.
one point over time, it was an actual beach where people in that area of the street could have access to and go down and use the beach. But over the last 10 years, it became very thick with brush and overgrown. The waterway has changed, so now water actually goes into that beach area, which is making it more of a wetlands than a
Right.
beach area. And, now it's impacting his privacy.
Yeah, that's separate. That's a separate issue.
Yes,
Right, right,
The amount
okay.
of damage that's been done there, you've been there.
I
Yeah,
think you may have to come up here.
Yes.
well, I mean, it's
So would you step up?
about 1,000 square feet, I paced it off and, estimate, visual estimate, 1,000 square feet of what appeared to be buffer zone, whereas in Mr. Nashawati's case, it was wetland. That's a big difference. That's a big difference. So, again, I think the commission, I would recommend that we get the information of the property owner and write a same letter saying, look, stop what you're doing, clear the brush out of there, this is gonna go to the homeowners association, and don't do anything else until you have a permit. And if that fellow continues to do work, you have a suit against him, because, he's affecting the homeowner's property in a way that's not permissible. So, that would be my recommendation to the commission.
But the added thing is, supposedly the new houses up on the hill have some deeded,
Yes, that's a deeded water.
They have
Water.
deeded access to use that as a way to get to the water.
but they're not a member of the association.
They're not a member of the association.
But nonetheless,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean someone can go in and clear it.
Right.
That's, you can walk through, you get access to the water, yeah, you can pick your way through and you get access to the water. That's all that means, in my opinion. That doesn't mean, you gotta clear a roadway and put a boat ramp in. No.
We walked down there and there was like punji stakes sticking up.
Right.
Oh, it's awful.
It's awful.
Right,
It's the prickers and thorns which would stop you from doing
Yeah,
anything first and
yeah,
foremost.
right,
That,
so,
that used to be completely flat.
I remember, oh yeah.
right.
And
Yeah,
Mr. Hoyt came down and built up that corner, so now the water comes
Goes
down
there.
the left
Yep.
and then straight
Straight down.
down next to his house. It used to drain to the right
Right.
along that tree line.
Right,
And then it no longer does that.
right, it goes right down
And now
that.
it's going right
I got
onto,
video of it from last night, just watching it go right into the water, and if it doesn't, it's gonna be ending up in my basement.
And I was there
Right,
yesterday just for
right.
that purpose, so
Right.
I could see
Right.
the effects of the recent
Well,
rainfall.
it was disturbing, like you saw in the pictures that he sent to John, were very misleading to what he just did. And he did it when we were not home.
Right,
We usually have somebody home, so it's all making sense now. When I'd come out of my driveway, I didn't know it was him, but it was weird that this guy would all of a sudden get up and go in his house. My wife was walking the dog, he'd get up, go in his house, he wanted no contact. I thought it was weird until I just realized it was that house. So he's been very sneaky about, because I was there for the last argument he had with Steve
Yeah,
McGuire.
let's not get into personalities. Let's
Yeah.
just stick with
Yeah.
So why can't do we know who has deeded access to this?
it doesn't really matter, I don't think.
Well, I'm just wondering if
because-
we should send out a notice to everybody, say, stay the hell
Well, sure,
out,
that's
don't do
all right.
anything.
The association,
Well,
yes, but not individuals.
Right, the
Well, but
association.
The association, because they own it, right?
Right.
But what about the people who have deeded rights to it?
Well, so far, there's only one person that we know has been doing unauthorized
No,
work.
but many people have deeded rights to it, right? And
I
they
think there's
may-
4 houses. Yeah, 4
Yeah,
houses have deeded
And they may
access.
think they have more right to do things that they don't have to do. Wouldn't it behoove us to find out that's a simple what?
Yeah, it's still not our.
Do you think that you could get us the information of who has the deeded rights to it?
I think you'd have to do a title search, really.
Right, exactly, that
it's-
takes a lawyer.
It's
And
the
that's
4 houses on that.
$300 an
It's
hour.
the same houses that Mike was talking about.
Yep.
It was 4 houses around the corner.
On Robbins Lane?
Yeah, the Robbins Lane, yeah.
So why can't we just send notices to everybody? Like the
Simple
same
enough.
notice
Look
we're gonna
in,
send
look in the
to
street
homeowners.
listing and, yeah.
Let me just say, under the Wetlands
Informational,
Protection Act.
informational.
Yeah, okay. Under the Wetlands Protection Act, you have to take action against the owner. Now, if the owner said, well, I hired the contractor, then it's up to the owner to go after that contractor. So we don't really get involved.
I get it, but these guys are doing it without their knowledge. So,
Put a sign up?
Which unfortunately puts the burden on them.
I get it.
They have to
I
protect
get
their
it, but
property.
if it's a simple notice to these people, what's the harm?
We're not in that business.
Right, and John, I get what you're saying, but I would hesitate to do that because I don't know when they bought their property, somebody said, oh, look, you've got this deed that says such and such. I don't want to be an attorney, play attorney, and interpret that to say what you can and cannot do. Because that puts a town in some kind of
Well,
liability.
It's been
like-
brought to our attention that one of them is the one clearing the
Right, but, so we,
Yeah, but
which
via
is.
an email that he
But-
sent
but-
saying that he did it.
But the only thing we can do legally is to go after the property owner.
Right.
And then the property owner has to take issue with whoever did the work.
So it's up to people, it's up to the president, what I'm hearing you, it's the president of the association should be sending a letter
That's what we're saying.
to the homeowners of the association.
The deeded rights people.
And the deeded rights people.
To say cease and desist.
Right.
All wetlands activity on Huckleberry Knolls.
So,
Unless you contact the Conservation Committee
And apply for a permit.
and apply for a permit.
Right. And you know what, once what I would like to do is send a letter, saying, we need you to do this, stop, clear the brush out, and then you can take that letter and say, hey, associate, we just got this letter.
I think we
So-
should draft a generic letter for them for backup. It basically says that we've been told that no more work can be done within the buffer zone by anyone on this property. Then they can take it and say, see, we've been notified, and they draft their letter with that as backup. And it's just a generic, we're not calling out anybody other than the
Right.
land itself.
Right, right.
That there was a violation on this property and all work must cease and desist of
Okay.
clearing of brush.
It's just, I don't want to get the commission into playing lawyer, saying, because some homeowner might say, well, wait a minute, my deed says I can do such and such. Well,
As
that's
far
where
as
it
we
gets
know,
iffy.
the
That's
deed-
where it gets
yeah.
iffy,
As far as we know, the deed says you have access.
as far as we know.
But even if the deed says you can do whatever you want, you can't.
You can't
The
violate the
Wetlands Act-
Wetlands Protection
Right,
Act.
right,
It's
right.
it's subject to the
but, you know-
Wetlands Act, and we enforce the Wetlands Act.
Right,
So I don't see the problem.
right. Unless there's something else in the deed somewhere.
And that's the way it
The
has to
deed is not
stop.
gonna override the Wetlands Act. It's just not. I have deeded rights, I mean, I own waterfront on Long Pond. I can't do whatever I want there.
Yeah, so I think, I'd be happy to draft it. I think it's up to the homeowners association, however, to be the, to be the
If
the
you give
general
me a
here.
draft, I'll
Yeah,
send it to everybody.
And I think that's my point, is we draft it to them, but not as a reprimand to them.
No,
As
no.
a simple notification, that now that they have backup to go to these quote-unquote deeded access people, to say, look, everybody has to stop, there's a violation, and then they can then pursue it if the guy keeps going over there. Set
And
up
you
some
put that in the
trail
form of a
cameras.
But I think
motion, right?
it has to have teeth. I think you have to lay out, if this does continue,
Right,
this is what will happen.
Well, we indicate the penalties under
Right.
chapter 131, section 40.
no penalties. I mean, we don't have penalties under it.
Well, the state
The
does.
state does,
Right.
yeah.
And you're on a tributary to a water supply.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you guys have talked to this guy and he just keeps doing it.
I've exchanged emails with him, and then the former homeowner had a pretty big
Yeah.
confrontation with him.
That's why when he said I didn't get confrontation, well, he did it when nobody was there. Who was there to confront?
Well, that's irrelevant, isn't it? It's like,
trail.
just because no one
Right.
saw
But
you
then-
doesn't
but
mean
then
that.
What concerned me was in the email when he stated, and I look forward to non-confrontation with this, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna continue in the spring. Well, how far does this go before everything's gone and there's their waterway? Because if you go down there, you've seen it, what possibly would you want
It's
on
so
that
good,
beach?
it's so wet there, and it's just awful.
It doesn't seem like, okay,
Yeah, it may have been something at some point,
right,
but
right.
what I'm looking at
That's why I
it,
said,
I
yeah,
used to put my boat in the,
yeah.
right, but legally, I thought you had to have more than 50 feet ashore to moor your boat in there.
no.
That's only
Put it in and out of the
30.
water.
Just bringing it in.
Just launch it.
Yeah, launch it and, yeah, okay.
All right, I thought you said you moored it there.
And you were saying, it's so wet. 2 or 3 dump trucks would take care of that, which is why we wanted to get that letter out quickly.
Yes.
Yeah, right,
That's my biggest concern.
Yep.
right.
Because you gotta trudge through that muck to get to this beach area. It doesn't make sense to me.
That's right.
So what's your intention of what you're doing?
Yep.
Right,
Is my
right,
question.
Right. Well, you guys know, and you can draft something, an email tonight when you go home saying, well, we just came from the Concom, everybody stop,
So can I
otherwise.
email this guy direct, because I do have his email address, and it won't be anything, basically stating the facts.
There you go.
Yeah, go right ahead, we can't.
Right, you have a, relationship with them and however you want to characterize it, but, I would suggest you put everybody on notice, because this is gonna come in the mail.
Right.
And then you can say, see, here it is, we told you this was coming. And then if it continues, I mean, do you folks have legal services? You know, I mean, you have a homeowners association,
So it's gone to this before, where that's why they've never done anything for all these years. Because Steve would get his lawyer involved, and the associations don't want to pay for a lawyer, so they drop it, they back away. But you had a new homeowner, and this guy came in and said, he didn't know whether I knew the rights or conservation or anything. So he took it upon himself to do what he wanted to do, and this is where we stand,
right.
you know?
Well, we're on it, and we're gonna do our part in it, you know, but as association members, you know, we would hope that you follow up with your members as well, because, you know, we don't know them all, and we're not in the business of dealing, you know, making policy for homeowners associations.
Right.
So did you say you want us to, are you going to send us a letter about removing the brush that was cut down?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
And to
Cease and
stop
desist.
further work
Right.
in that area,
Right, cease and desist, get rid of the brush.
until a proper permit is applied for.
And obtained, yeah.
Appreciate you bringing it to the agenda tonight.
No, it wasn't on the agenda, but
No, I know, but
I
thank
figured
you
it would
for
come
your
up.
time.
It
Thanks
was
for
on our
coming, guys.
mind.
It was
so
on
put
our
that.
mind, yes, it
All right.
was.
So you'll draft a letter, and
Yeah.
why don't...
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, I think we should.
Why don't we circulate it first? Just make sure everyone has their input
On the letter?
on the letter.
Okay, so
All
I'll
right.
draft it up.
And then, once everyone gives it its blessing, we'll send it off.
Okay, all right.
All right, so
In
now
the
I'll take
meantime, there's
a
no
motion.
reason you can't
Motion.
email the person or
I
whoever
make a
you want
motion
and
to
say, hey,
issue
look,
a letter to the
you know,
homeowners
Conservation
association who's in
Commission's on us.
control of the land. It says cease and desist from any further activity in that area until proper permits are applied for. Do we want to add on clear the brush, or do we
Remove the
want to
brush.
do nothing?
Just remove this brush and slash that's,
Okay.
not
You have to be
trees.
careful when you say remove brush, that implies go cut it all down.
No,
Yeah.
I will
Remove
make
the
sure I
already
word
cut
it.
brush.
Remove the
You
cleared
need to
brush.
be
That's
very
why I wanted-
specific about,
To go through drafts so that everybody's had
Right,
their...
right, right.
Okay.
All right, so, second?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Thank you all. Okay.
That was helpful, thank you for coming in.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Do you want to do reorg or Pusateri?
Leave that for last.
Okay. The other thing on the agenda then is Mr. Pusateri. I don't know, Joe,
Who's this gentleman?
Jim Rogers, I just wanted to come in and do.
It's just got nothing to do.
I was on the zoning planning group, so I'm just tired of giving up the committee.
okay,
All right, well, you get started, I'm gonna...
okay. Mr. Pusateri, I don't know if you want to, we got the plan down here. Joe, have you seen a better version of it?
Oh, I have not seen the better version.
Okay, come on over.
The original version wasn't real
Well,
impressive.
this is the original version, but it's just a bigger, larger scale.
Ooh, and color.
Yep, we're gonna just take that off there. So this is where we walk down the path, the
Yep,
house and the
the house is up
barn,
there.
right? And so in our enforcement order, we ask for a restoration, a wetland delineation and a restoration plan. So here's our delineation, okay? And somehow he's figured that the wetland comes around here and then picks up again
Do you
here.
know this guy?
I do.
Brad
Oh,
Holmes?
Very
Brad
good,
Holmes, yeah.
very good.
Yeah.
But then, so my problem is, how did he determine that the wetland was here? And then here, there's no indication how he arrived at, in other words, my thinking was, when I saw it, the whole thing was wet. But somehow he's figured out that this is a buffer zone. It's not the wetland, it's the buffer zone.
Remember seeing some GSI maps that it was very spotty,
Very spotty.
wetlands.
Right.
So I don't discount the separation
Right.
may have been there, because
Right.
it was broken up in like 3 or 5
Right.
different locations of
Right.
wetlands over there.
Right. Let me just say though, Mark.
Go ahead.
The GIS very clearly states as a disclaimer not to be used for delineation
Right.
purposes because it's an overlay that they
Yeah,
draw on.
I
So,
understand, but
you
I'm
know,
just saying, it was so broken up
Right.
that, I'm not saying it's a perfect delineation, but
Right.
if we walk through there as dry,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
maybe
yeah.
acknowledge that that section
Yeah.
was dry.
The problem
My-
was when I saw it, and maybe when you saw it, the whole thing had been cleared.
Right.
So, wetland is first of all determined by vegetation, and the only vegetation that I saw was the stuff that was piled up, which was all red maples. So, to me, it's like, well, all that stuff. If it came out of here, was
Yeah.
red maple,
Red
and
maple
that is,
swamp.
that
And
is
there never
wetland
was
species.
that
Well,
big a
can we-
piece.
Can we ask
of
this guy for his,
wetland.
for
I don't
how he
question
came
that
up
at
with the
all.
wetland?
I
We
think he
can.
made a pond.
We can, that's one
But I
thing we
think
can
moving
do.
forward though, do we
We
want
can.
it to fill it in? Or do we want to just border it and plant it and get away from it?
Well, let me just say that it's definitely over 5,000 square feet, and you can't create a pond. You cannot alter more than 5,000 square feet without it being a limited project, and creating a pond is not a limited project. So if we would allow this to remain, we'd be
Well, let me ask
allowing
you
it to
this,
remain
if
without having
we allowed this
regulation.
he has a big piece of land, right?
Yeah, he's
Can we,
got
can we make him
Replicate,
replicate somewhere else?
not over 5,000 square feet under the regulations.
And this
Under the
is not
regulations.
agriculturally related. He wanted it as a swimming.
He said he was gonna use it for the kids. So my first problem is, I don't know how he delineated it.
Well,
That's
again,
my-
But we can request that
We can
information.
request that.
there's no argument that it's,
We can request it.
I totally concede that it's over the 5,000 square foot standard, but it exists as that now. What are we gonna do?
Well,
What-
that's
what
why
would
we
you
said,
suggest?
that's why we said, give us a restoration plan. That's what we
And
said.
this is it, right?
This is it. This is it. So I question whether or not the wetland delineation is correct, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, some of the stuff he proposes to put in here are these whips. Whips are unbranched shoots, you know, I mean.
But we can dictate.
We can
the-
dictate
the
that.
plantings, right?
We can dictate that. We can dictate that. And remember that because it's over 5,000, well over 5,000.
There's already been a violation.
There's already been a violation. And
Plus another.
once you go over 5,000 square feet, you have to go to the Army Corps of Engineers, you need a water quality cert. So if we were to allow him to allow, he doesn't even have the other permits that we can't even issue. Those permits are issued by Army Corps. So, I mean, I would stick to our original plan, let's restore the whole darn thing. Restore the whole darn thing. We didn't, it wasn't permitted. And then give us some more information about how you arrived at this delineation, you know?
Well, does it matter if we're telling them to get rid of it?
Yeah, it does, because you'd have to go deeper. You'd have to plant wetland plants, you'd have to get down to hydric soils, you'd have to, you know.
Yeah, they didn't do any test pits, they didn't do any borings, so we really don't know what the material is like underneath.
Right, right.
We may require that
Now,
in the future.
let me just say too that, you know, 2 or 3 weeks ago, we didn't have anything, so it came up at our last meeting, we sent him a second enforcement order, he didn't pick it up. At that point, Nate Darling asked me to contact DEP. You might remember that the commission said, yeah, let's contact DEP. I have contacted DEP. They got back to me asking questions, so my guess is they're starting to investigate this. This restoration plan, however, has not been sent to DEP. So I would like to send this to DEP to say, okay, you know, we got some progress here. We think it needs some work. We think we can maybe get, you know what I mean, satisfy the commission. But DEP, you should know that this plan is out there because they're, you know, they're already been aware of it.
My point is, I'm not saying this, like, the GSI maps that show water and
Yeah.
wetlands, but I'm just saying, so, this is the neighbor's property?
Yep.
Did you move that?
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Uh-oh.
I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Yeah,
Okay.
probably.
All right, so it's spun. So this is his property. And so
That's
we're,
this road?
No, that doesn't even show on the GIS. Where's
along
Southwest Street?
this edge, Southworth is right here.
Okay,
Along this edge is the stone wall.
yep, which isn't shown here, it's up here somewhere.
It's right here.
Yeah.
No, that's the BBW line.
So, all right, so it's over
Sort of
here.
parallel.
Yep,
So what he's done is in this area. You can see that there's no pond.
right.
That's why I say GSI maps, I'm not saying that let's ask to prove
Yeah, right.
No, I think he
whether it's
admitted he
a
put the
wetland or
pond
not.
Oh, yeah, he
right?
did.
We can prove that it wasn't a pond.
Right, we
But-
know that, yeah. Because even in his letter, he says, you know, the biologist says, excavated a pond out of the wetland.
So he's aware that DEP is aware of this.
No, he's not aware, because I sent an email to DP, and so, he's not aware that we contacted DP.
Okay.
If he's watching this meeting, he is now, but no, he's not aware of that.
So DEP is aware of this?
Oh, yeah, they don't know that we have this
Then
restoration
send them
plan.
the plan.
Yeah,
I would
See what they think.
take a printout of the Google Earth thing of the property, which they already.
They'll do it.
Probably
oh,
10
yeah,
layers of that.
they have much more detailed GIS
And
maps.
to send them this, and can we confide in them?
Well, it's public information now, it's been submitted, so.
But I'm
it's
just saying, can we confide in DEP?
Sure.
For help?
Recommendations.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great
You
idea,
know, I
because.
don't think
I've-
we should put it all on us. You're giving us a lot of information, I think that's great. My initial thought, like I think I've sort of voiced, is less impact the better,
It's my
but maybe
thought, too.
DEP has,
Right.
I'm sure they've come across this at least once in there.
Oh, they
Oh,
have.
yeah.
So
they have.
let's throw it to them and ask for their
Okay.
help.
Okay,
If you,
Get some feedback anyway, see what
Okay.
they think.
yeah,
But we want them to know that it's still gonna be, we still wanna be involved. We don't
Yeah.
wanna totally give it away.
no, we want their feedback back on how to address this within our town. I mean, we're not turning it over to them as much as,
No. That's basically what we've been talking about. and
Yeah.
We're looking,
but it sounds like now they're getting response and we have something
that's right.
to go to them with.
And what the least disruptive way
Method
to
of,
deal with this is.
Yeah.
they may come back and argue that leaving the pond there is less of an impact
Right.
than removing it.
And I think that would be a good
That's a good
recommendation
argument.
from them. It would be a reason for us to
Right,
act on.
Right,
And
right.
it would be good to get feedback from DEP, because I'm sure, like
Right.
we said, they've run into this before.
Right, well, I think that's a great idea, and I'm happy to do that. My guess is, after being there for 23 years, they're gonna say, not a chance. We want this whole thing restored.
they been out
But
there?
that's, I don't know. They're,
If they request to go out there, can you notify us?
I will,
Maybe we can all.
I will, because I've sent a few emails
That
over
would
there
be a
saying,
good educational visit
Right.
for all of us if they were.
If they
yeah,
Well,
were
with
interested in
us.
going,
Okay.
and we could tag along.
Now,
Yeah.
Lenore, you were talking about, hydric soils.
yes,
If you remember, the piles that are there, there's clearly some peat muck associations.
Oh, yeah.
But then there was also that almost white sandy stuff.
well, he brought that in.
Was that brought in,
Yeah,
that was,
he said
came,
in one of our
brought that in.
visits, that some of that stuff wasn't necessarily imported, but it was brought there from other parts of the site.
Right. He wanted to
So-
create kind of an area for his kids to go down and walk, and they
Yes.
couldn't walk in the muck,
right,
so
'cause
he
that
put
was,
a
that was
nice.
gonna be the beach.
That was
Yeah,
gonna be
okay.
the beach.
Okay, yeah.
Right, and that
Nice
is
stuff.
kind of the buffer zone here that he shows, so. Okay, so I will ask DEP.
So could he do that on Upland, away from the?
Sure.
Yeah, you
yeah.
could.
Oh, yeah.
You can dig your own pond, right?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
As long as
I
you don't.
mean, he's got over
affect-
30 acres.
I know, but I bet you most of it's wet, because looking at that GIS, as you said, it's spotty. But
Very-
when I
And
see.
it goes a little down from there.
Yeah, it's kind of like a triangle meandered through it of dry, but there was
You
big
know,
giant wet,
yeah.
You could,
at least
yeah,
three
you
major
couldn't
ones.
dig a pond or a lake on your property, even if it was uplands, such that it affected the groundwater levels in
Right.
surrounding properties.
And,
How
you
deep
know,
is that?
The pond?
The pond he
That's
does.
really shallow.
Well, it doesn't show. I mean, that's the problem. He's got all these other measurements, but he doesn't measure the pond, which.
On one of the trips, I stuck a branch in there, I don't think there's more than
A foot or two?
two
I wouldn't
and a
think
half
there's
feet
more.
maybe.
And it is ponded water. It's not connected to the water table.
Yeah, it's not being
He
recharged.
said he has
Yeah.
to, were you there when he
Yes.
said it? He has to refill
Fill
it
it?
from his well.
Yeah, he set a pump up to fill it from his
Yeah.
well.
That makes no sense, it's like.
So we're talking
Is he
about
feeding
something-
animals with it?
Well, he's got 2 horses, but.
He brings, yeah,
It's
though,
a big watering hole.
Well, they don't get, they're not near that, they're in a
Okay.
separate
Yeah, they're way
area.
up here.
And there's a person that takes
Yeah,
care of the
yeah,
horses,
yeah, yeah.
and she waters them up
Yeah.
in the barn.
And I use GIS all the time, because in my job, I always look to see, okay, what do I expect to find when I go
Good
out to a
quick
site?
reference.
It's a good reference. And 90% of the time, when I see that spotty stuff, what I usually find is, the whole thing's wet.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because the people.
Especially in a wooded area, it's hard for them to
Especially in
put
a
up.
wooded area, it's really hard, because remember, these are people at DEP that are looking at an aerial photograph, and they go like this, drawing it. There's no field verification, so they're saying, look, here's what we think, but, don't take our word
Yeah,
for
you
it.
can't use it for
disclaimer.
delineation.
Yes, cannot be used for delineation. Okay, so do we need a motion to send it to DEP? I think it's just follow
No,
up.
I think it's
Yeah.
paperwork.
Since we've already sent it to them, it's just another
Okay.
step, I think, right?
Yeah,
Do we still want to talk to their botanist, have them come in?
I
Or
know.
wait?
I would wait to hear what
Let's
he
wait.
said.
Let's wait and hear from DEP.
Does he work for SciTech or?
No, he's
Oh,
independent.
so they.
He's
they-
out of Plymouth.
They contracted with him?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh yeah. He's great. I mean, I've seen him many times. He's very well involved, you know, he's great.
Yeah, so let's,
Okay,
just
off
for
to
the sake
DEP.
of, let's make a motion to send the copies out to DEP.
So moved.
All right, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. All right, reorg.
Did we cover everything else?
Yep. What do you guys want to do?
Do we want to reorganize?
Do you want to?
Shouldn't we do that with the full board?
Well, I was thinking of that was, on my way here, when I realized some people
Are
were.
we just talking about moving people around? Because
Yeah,
are
necessary.
you staying on as chairman?
Yes, let's
Okay.
start there. As if you probably haven't heard by now, the selectmen have appointed me to be the new.
Don't scoff when you say it.
Agent, the new conservation agent.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Now, I've contacted the State Board of Ethics.
Okay.
To see if I can wear two hats, still remain on the commission and be the agent. And they said yes, as long as you're not overseeing people that are being paid or that kind of thing, or affect a budget that I would in turn benefit by. Okay? So they said I could maintain that position. And that's
very good, thank you.
that's important to me.
Yes.
Just to maintain that vote. If I were to lose it, I'm not sure I would have taken the position as agent. But there's nothing that says I have to continue as chairman. I'm certainly willing to, but if the commission as a whole felt we would be better suited with someone new or someone who doesn't have divided loyalties and.
Well, you don't have divided loyalties. You just-
Well,
I mean,
Yeah, I think you're right. No.
the
divided
agent
loyalty.
and the commission should be on one page, right?
Well, the agent and the chairman might get into a fight.
Well, that's his problem.
there are other towns that do it.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly willing to continue, but I wanted to at least bring it up to everyone's attention, so we had to say, if you thought.
Well, I mean, I'm fine with you remaining both. The only hiccup that I would see is we just say previously when Nancy was our agent, if she was absent, you got briefed and handled the meeting without her. But if you're both parties, it may be difficult.
For Joe's fault. He's the vice chairman.
Vice chair. And we do have two people missing.
And you can be the
That's right,
vice
we do have
vice
two people
chair.
missing.
And sure, that's always a possibility that of this meeting, but my track record's been okay so far, so I don't foresee it being a problem.
I would propose that we postpone this till the full board is
It's a
here.
good idea.
And then figure it out.
Because Josh is in Indiana looking for a power plant,
Yeah.
poisonous emissions.
No.
Well, let's call him.
Who
and
else
see
do
what
we
he
have?
thinks.
We have Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who else?
Will,
And Will?
Oh, has Will been
Did
appointed?
we hear anything from him, by the
I
way?
got
I
his
just-
resume.
I did forward the resume.
Did
because
he
Rob
get
Staples?
appointed?
I think selectmen are waiting for an official recommendation
Right.
from us. We
And-
voted, but I think they wanted it
Did
in
we
a letter.
vote? I thought we were
We
voting.
voted
did
to
vote.
recommend him at the last
Right.
meeting.
Okay.
But I think
We
they
gotta
wanted
make
it in
that
the
out
form
to
of a letter,
Tracy.
so I'll take care of that,
Okay.
just in case that's holding it up.
Notice, because Tracy wants to be
Yeah.
aware of that. Okay, so you'll take care of that?
Yeah, well, for both Tracy, for Josh and for Will.
Quite the resume.
So has Josh been?
Josh was appointed,
He has been appointed.
right.
Yeah.
So, and then Will was appointed too, or did we appoint him as an
We just
associate?
No, Will was just
I thought we
recommended.
recommended both of them. We don't
Well,
appoint
Will
anyone.
was a
I'm sorry for
associate,
using
right?
that word.
No, he wasn't.
No,
an
he
associate
wasn't,
yet.
no.
Josh was the associate.
I'm sorry, yeah, Josh was the associate.
Yeah.
And has he been appointed as a full member?
Not to our knowledge.
Sounds like no to either. That needs
We
to go to the
recommended
selectmen.
both, we voted on both, but I don't think the
So we
selectmen
should,
have.
if we
We
can make
we
that
made the
letter.
motion to make him a full member.
Right,
Right.
so that would bring us to.
The discussion was, we didn't want odd,
We didn't want an
Even
even
number.
number, right.
That'll bring us to 6?
because we were at 6 with
No,
John.
seven were-
We'll be full. And, yeah, if everybody's here, we can talk
Five,
about
six, seven.
positions and,
Yeah.
and a few other things. Lenore and I are gonna work out something as far as the publication of the ads.
Right.
So that we get that
right,
straight.
Right.
We're getting a conflict sometimes with engineers as to who's gonna post the notice. And, it sometimes causes confusion on both sides, so we wanna streamline it as best as we can. And are they gonna do it, or are we gonna do it?
And that's sort of flip-flopped
Yeah.
over the
It
past.
has.
It came to a head when Nancy left, and we didn't know what to do.
Right.
But for a long time,
We did.
That's right.
we
We've
did
been
it,
doing it.
and then we took it, then we gave it to them.
We had that time send the bill to the engineer or the applicant.
And the thinking behind that was that we can't trust them to do it right, so we've got to do it ourselves, but we're not any better. So I'm not sure
Oh, I
that's...
take,
Well,
John.
yeah, and then, as you said, the problem with having the applicant do it is sometimes they do it inaccurately.
That's right.
Right.
And-
It has to be done
And
again.
what the ad says is not really what the filing said.
And
That's right.
sometimes the information we're given, like maps and
Yeah.
block numbers and things like
Not
that, is erroneous. And we don't know that, so we're just
Right.
compounding the problem. So we need a better system.
Right, and what I suggested was, look, we'll take care of it and, let the billing, go through the town, and then if the applicant doesn't come forward with the payment for the bill, they don't get their permit. It's like, no, you didn't pay the, it's
Well,
like,
the other thing is, if
No.
the applicant gives you erroneous information, then it gets reposted at their expense. And the time that
and the
they
time,
lose
right, and the time they
is on
lose.
them, it's not on us.
That's right, yeah. So it behooves them to not do it
Right, to
correctly.
give us the accurate information.
The other business item that I was gonna just bring up briefly, because we've talked about it before, is reducing the number of copies for reports and maps and things.
I'm all in favor.
I've been trying to organize the files, and it's so redundant, it's not funny.
Yeah.
We get stuff sent to us by all the other boards, stuff we already have, plus we're getting 10 copies of the large, 4 copies of the scaled-down one, and it
12 copies,
fluctuates
I
as
think,
far
yeah.
as the NOIs and RDAs. Sometimes you only get one sheet for an RDA, and other times we get entire booklets like this for an NOI. And even then, they're deficient.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the RDAs, when you look at the regs that we're getting, are deficient. And I think we need to shape up a little bit in that
Is-
area.
Is that because of who fills them out?
Yeah, primarily, yeah.
Because it might be not a professional engineer?
I think that's the problem,
So,
we
is that
try to,
something-
we try to lowball things for
Yeah,
the
would be-
residents by saying, look, just, it's a 2-page application, fill it out to the best of your ability, kind of like Pine Bluff, or, it's like, we
Yeah,
took in stuff that
Try to
was,
avoid the cost
we
of
try to
hiring an
avoid the
engineer.
cost, right, which
But,
reduces the professionalism of it.
Well, some of this might be taken care of. Isn't Nate putting everything on tablets? And
Yes,
within 4 months,
Yeah.
he's gonna have a tablet
Oh,
yeah.
that we can actually bring to the meeting, and you
Oh.
can have a projector. So we don't
Yeah.
technically need
Right.
paper copies of the plans or anything. That can all be put up on a wall.
Middleborough's been doing that for the selectmen for
But
years.
there's only 2 copies that have been going in the file. So far, that's not too much of a burden.
Yeah.
It's if we've got a 7-member commission, plus Lenore,
office cost.
so we're making 8 copies, and then when we're done, everybody, tosses them.
What if we did, demand emails?
Yeah, I mean,
Could you-
DP has an
I mean, I
e-filing
print out
system.
everything that I get,
Right, yeah.
usually, I'll print minutes and print the agenda and stuff. If I want to make a paper copy, or at least I have record
Right.
in my email to
Right.
view something,
Right.
Yeah, that's what I do with the agenda.
Right, right.
so that if, rather than them give 9 copies to the board,
A lot of them do send it, a lot of them do both.
if
Yeah.
they
You know, a
sent
lot
it
of
in the
them do
form of a
both.
PDF that could
You
be,
could
we
forward
just
it.
need to make sure it's openable.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, the problem though is the RDOA, again, it's like if you ask some residents, hey, we need a PDF, they're gonna look at you like you got three heads, and say, what? Here's what I drew up, I mean,
Look at Pine Bluff, it was like pulling teeth to
Yeah.
get that.
right,
Do we have a scanner at the office?
we do,
Wouldn't it be easier just for us to scan it and email it to all the members?
we could.
Even if it's just a
Just in
hand
the case of
drawn?
RDAs, if we
Yeah,
want to take
right,
things
we could do
away.
that. We could do that.
So we handle the RDA mailings and
That'd be easier than
postings.
copying 9.
And
sets
just
of
circulate
seven
a
sets of
scanned
papers,
copy
right?
to the board rather
Right.
than,
Right,
like I say, 9 copies if we're.
So I would
a
still
full
want
board.
to have at least one,
A hard copy.
yeah.
for
one
you.
hard
of
copy
course.
that we can look at, like
At
the
the
one
meeting,
yeah,
yeah.
that we just got from SciTech.
Probably one full set of plans, a full-size set.
Yep.
right.
So would this maybe be something, we look at our filing requirements on the
Submittal
agenda
policy.
at the next meeting and
Yeah.
try to clean that up so that we maybe,
All right, well, we can start anyway, if we're
Put as a
gonna get
request.
these tablets in the next 4 months, that's the goal we can work towards,
Yep.
getting our files in shape so that we can start inputting.
Yeah. And Nate was talking about maybe trying to get either a TV here or something that we could,
Yeah, we got
Oh, yeah.
that. I wonder, we
Yeah.
could
You could put
probably
the
just with
plans up
a,
on.
At least get the
an
Cartoon Network.
HDMI cable and,
yeah.
Yeah. That would be,
Well, they must have Wi-Fi here, right?
I'm sure,
sure,
yeah.
yeah, sure.
Yes.
Stuff is amazing.
It is amazing.
so can I just ask, we had 2, what looked like we're going to have hearings. Did they get continued or do we need to continue them
right.
again?
We have 2 NOIs next meeting.
Yeah, the NOI, Bob, for 141, we did get a email request to continue it. Harding Street kind of popped up because we didn't have it on the agenda
That was the
because,
storage.
yeah, because it didn't get published in the newspaper. So that's why it didn't go on the agenda. And then it showed up on the agenda. I'm like, how did it get on the agenda? Because it didn't get published. So
So who was responsible for publishing that?
I checked with Lori, but then Bob was sitting in, and when I came in, I said, Bob said, can we do it today? I said, no, it's too late.
Okay.
So it kind of
Yeah.
fell between the cracks
So it was
between.
really us,
We
that
thought-
we dropped the ball.
We dropped it.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
we
But
thought,
what is that? I don't want to open a hearing on it. but-
Self-storage, right?
I think so. I haven't even looked at it yet, honestly.
I believe that's what it is.
Is that what you're asking?
Wait, I already see a file number, so,
DEP issued a file number,
Yeah.
yeah. I haven't looked at it yet because I didn't think it was going to be on the agenda.
usually there's not a
tonight.
file number until we've already had a hearing on it.
Well,
No, the file number
What
is just
number is-
DEP's way of saying that it's complete, and they issue the file number. DEP issues that file number if the filing is complete.
Well, and
And
then
then-
even then, they may ask for more information.
They may ask for more
Yeah.
information. But then, that's just DEP's,
So that's their tracking number.
that's their
Yep,
tracking number.
yep.
We use it because DEP, it's convenient.
Yeah, I mean, we mostly see it for COCs,
You
because
see it for
they're
everything.
closing one out. I'll reference it in the motion,
Right,
so we don't typically see that number with an NOI.
if you
Yeah.
go
The
to
NOI
DEP's,
triggers it.
right,
Right.
right,
So
If
right,
you
I
go to
found
their
it strange
website-
that it's in here.
yeah.
and look under wetlands, they'll have a listing of all the NOIs, all the
Right.
RDAs.
I'm sure in that search,
With-
then
with
you
those
can plug
numbers.
in just that SE number and
Yeah.
it'll come right
Yeah,
up.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that'll-
yeah,
Both of these will be on the agenda for the next meeting?
yeah,
yeah, plus continuation of 141 County Street, and there's an RDA also, I think.
That's
Oh.
March 26th.
And
yeah, let's talk about our next meeting, should,
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks? No? Mark
Yeah.
says no, not gonna be here?
I won't.
I won't be here either, actually, but,
I thought it was the one after you.
no,
It's
no,
the next one?
what I said to you is I'll be in the office next week,
want
but the
that?
26th,
No, no.
I
Oh,
won't be in the
gotcha,
office.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That would be postponing,
Well, Mark's not gonna be here the 26th.
I'll be here.
Yeah, you'll be here. What
Joe?
about
all
you,
we need
Joe?
is a fourth.
I'll be here, but isn't one of them going to involve my property?
Oh,
So we want to make sure that there's enough voters.
right,
So
you'll
we need to
you'll
check
Not to
recuse
recuse
yourself,
myself.
right.
Well,
So
right
we-
now, it's just Rick, right?
Rick and Josh. So we need at least one of them to show up.
Well, Josh isn't appointed yet.
Yeah, well, we've got 2
He's an
weeks to get,
associate though, right?
2 weeks to get
He
it
can't
done.
vote, though.
You can't vote.
Rick, I hope Rick can make it. I mean,
He'll be fine by
So
then.
give us
Sure.
three
Yeah,
out
he
of
just
three
made
out of four.
Even if
The
he just
wait
comes
was
for a
fine.
quick vote.
okay. All right, so we should have
Out of
enough.
necessity, you can vote.
You said that yourself on
you can.
yours, yeah, out of necessity.
Yep.
There you go.
You don't need a vote, it's present.
No, but if we didn't have a quorum, and he made up the quorum, he could vote.
That's what I'm saying, is he doesn't even need to vote. If
Just
he's
be
part of the quorum,
Right.
he can still abstain from vote, and there would be a majority
Yeah, it would
vote.
be the
If
majority
two
of
out of the
who's left.
three,
Right.
2 votes would pass.
That's right.
And I'm filing out of an abundance of caution, because I live on a heavily traveled road. The
Yeah.
last thing I want is, what's going on over there? You know, all the people that drive up and down Highland.
Otherwise, you wouldn't?
There you go.
Abundance of caution,
Yeah.
not just caution. All right, so do you want to vote to continue till, or have a next meeting the 26th? Or do we, is it automatic?
It's automatic.
Okay,
Automatic.
all right,
Let's go for it.
okay.
So I hate to-
So you gotta make sure that these people know that, they have to come in.
Yeah,
And you know, this 141, whatever, I mean, you're talking about, but I don't want that one to come back and haunt us 15 years from now. Make sure exactly, I mean, I know we have book and page
yeah,
on what that property is, because there's 2 other house lots.
I know.
Up front, and I don't know if they've actually been separated out yet, or
Well-
what.
Is this the corner of County and
Yes,
Highland?
yeah.
Yeah, Jamie said, no, it was, what's his name? Youngquist that said, oh no, they got A&R approval, so they should
There should
show
be
up as
3
separate
3
lots.
separate lots?
I don't know whether there's 3 or 2, but he said, oh no, we've got
Well,
approval
I
for
think
this
the
lot.
original house was 1, right? That was 1 lot, and they broke off 2 others, I think.
Right, that's right.
One's the son's, one's the father's.
Okay, one's more up front, the other one is.
Yeah,
the-
kind of
the
wraps
house.
around.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So he claims that, that's, it's done, the lots are
Okay.
separate.
So there are 3 lots, 2 up front, existing house, 1 in front, and then the driveway.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have 175 feet of frontage there.
Yeah, I don't know the layout exactly, but, because you might have raised that with him, saying, we don't want to be stuck with this, and he said, oh no, it's been done, so I take his word for it. Okay.
Motion to adjourn?
That's good.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everybody.
Great, thank you.